G'day and welcome back to the Upside Fantasy Sports podcast. We're focused on SuperCoach draft, NRL fantasy draft, and especially these matchups. These matchup analysis videos can be applied to classic and fantasy. Really helpful with your sit-start decisions and particularly captain, vice captain. On a buy round like this, not so much obviously, as you're just doing your best to stack your rosters. But when you got those pinchy decisions to make, this is valuable. Let's jump straight in. Don't want to muck around. Dolphins v Rabbitohs, first game Thursday night. Right winger for the Dolphins, Jermaine Osako, has a great matchup on paper. Just noting that the Bunnies have been pretty staunch defensively from a SuperCoach perspective. As you can see, they've got a massive discrepancy here. They're scoring really well with like Latrell and whatnot hitting, like Kaloamatangi, Latrell hitting that upside has equated to them being pretty favourable from a SuperCoach perspective. And they're also quite staunch in defence, as I mentioned. So yeah, it's looking really tough for Dolphins players to hit upside, but as always with SuperCoach, you evaluate the data and it just helps inform your decision making. So yeah, Sarko having a great matchup is probably a solid indicator, and it looks like the back line on the right there is intact enough for him to sort of succeed potentially. So left to RF, Ewan Aitken, who in NRL fantasy presents as a solid captaincy option this weekend, as a lot of people own him due to his buy coverage and his great average and base there. So yeah, another pretty good captaincy option for Ewan Aitken, that one. The rest is pretty grim. The tough one here is Trey Fuller. A lot of people in draft have got Trey Fuller to fill the fullback spot, as there's a lot of like gun fullbacks on bye or origin and whatnot. He has a bad matchup, but I'm optimistic that his work rate will make up for the statistical matchup not being in his favor. So I'm personally starting Trey Fuller. I have him in my draft team. There may be other options. You could look at potentially like a Will Kennedy, but we'll get to that down the line. But yeah, I'm going to play Trey Fuller because he only requires one upside play, and he's going to score quite well for a buy round. But yeah, pretty tough there for the Finns. Over to the Rabbitohs, gun matchups for the right 2RF and the front rowers. To me, that also means that someone like Kaloamatangi, he's not mentioned here in the top 6 and the bottom 3, but I think he's going to do pretty well on the basis of some of those forwards having good matchups. It's probably an indicator that he's been scoring well regardless of matchup, and now he comes up against a team that's a little bit leaky to forwards, so that's where I get that analysis from. An elite matchup for the right half, which is Cody Walker. So Cody Walker presents as the perfect kind of VC in a lean weekend for people that own him. Great matchup for the left winger and great matchup for Damien Cook, so I'm chucking the VC on Damien Cook in this one. Right centre, tough matchup, and poor matchups for the left half, Whiten, and the left centre. So Dolphins obviously better defending on their right. The Dolphins are dominant down their left, which is Jack Bostock. So even though he's sort of, he's listed here as having a neutral matchup, which I take in a positive light. So I think Jack Bostock is a solid plug and play for drafters. And the left centre, Herbie Farnworth, also benefits, from that neutral matchup. Again, Bunnies are pretty staunch, but without Latrell and Cam Murray, we'll see how they go. The Bunnies score most of their SuperCoach points in the middle of the field. Next game 2, Sharks Tigers. Right half, which will be Dan Atkinson, has a gun matchup. Right winger, which is Sione Katoa, gun matchup. Elite matchup for the left centre and the left half. So I think that bodes well. That's Trindle and Kyle Ero. Sorry guys, as you can tell, I'm still suffering with this COVID or whatever I've got. And as I mentioned, Will Kennedy, an elite matchup if you're looking for a plug and play and he's on your free agencies. I think it's a good weekend potentially to give him a shot. But the Tigers, yeah, look, they are super leaky, but they're actually looking better on the eye test. So just be cautious with Will Kennedy. But yeah, Kyle Ero, elite matchup. I'm not reading too much into that. He just can't seem to attack in the game. Amazing base, a lot of effort and heart. But even when Nicho Hynes scored on the weekend, he scored at left centre. And I saw the try from across the room and thought, oh, that's Kyle Ero finally crossing the line, because I saw there was only one player outside him in Mulatalo. For some reason, it was Nicho Hynes. So yeah, on Kyle Ero, yeah, pretty grim. Good matchup though, so we take it on a buy round. Left winger Ronaldo Militalo also has a great matchup, so that left edge should benefit pretty well. And I'm going to lump someone like Teague Wilton in there. If those guys all have their matchup, Teague Wilton should benefit as well. Left 2RF has a tough matchup, but again, as I say, I'm not reading into the tough matchup, and when everyone inside and outside of him has a good one. Hooker, poor matchup. Lock, tough matchup for the Sharks. They have a massive discrepancy. The Tigers just terrible at defending in SuperCoach and can't score much themselves. And the Sharks are dominant down their right edge. So yeah, you're firing up all your Sharks, obviously. For the Tigers, elite matchup with the lock and the hooker. So Api Coruscant owners will consider this a potential VC depending on their, their setups. Right center, good matchup. Left half, good matchup. So Aiden Caesar. Neutral matchup, left 2RF. So Samuel Afinu, which is nice. And then poor matchup for the front rowers and the fullback. Tough matchup for the right winger and the right 2RF. Sharks dominant down the right, as I mentioned, and Tigers are sort of in the middle. They score more of their points down the middle with Api Coruscant creating around the posts. Game 3, a lot of gun matchups here on the left. Pretty significant overall discrepancy in favour of the Titans. Gun matchup for right centre, left winger, fullback Keanu Kinney, right winger, lock. The bad matchups are the forwards and the hooker. So the Eels are only really solid in the middle, and there's just fringe points to be had everywhere. Titans are dominant down the left. So if you can get a left player plug and play this weekend, you're doing it. And if you've got Dave Fafita, you're putting the big captaincy on the big fella. Eels side, dominant down their right. However, the elite matchup is on their left with the left centre. Who's that going to be? It should be Sean Russell or Blaze Talangi. No, it'll be Blaze Talangi's playing left centre, I think. Yeah, so that's a bit weird. So Blaze Talangi, I sort of said you can punt him last night on the TLT potty, but potentially, if he's, he could do okay. Oh, yeah, potentially he could benefit. Left half, Dylan Brown, great matchup, which is good. So I'll probably put the C on Dylan Brown with my VC on Damien Cook. Left 2RF, good matchup, which is Maddo. Fullback, good matchup. Right half, good matchup. Neutral matchup with the lock, and the bad matchups are, interestingly enough, the left winger and the right centre for the Eels. So even though they've been scoring all their points there, it just shows just how good the left edge Titans defence is, that they just don't let a lot happen down there, which is crazy. So hence, the left side of the Eels having benefit against the Titans' leaky right edge. Eels dominant down their right, but not this weekend according to the data, and the Titans are dominant down the left, and that applies in the matchup data. Next game 4, Broncos. Let's just hammer through this one. They have elite matchups for the right 2RF and the left 2RF. Fullback, great matchup. Front rowers, great matchup. Right half, great matchup. Left half, bad matchup. Right centre, tough matchup. Hooker, poor matchup. Favouring the Dragons here, they've just been really staunch and scoring tons of SuperCoach points themselves. Broncos are sort of better in their middle again. The Dragons, they are dominant down their right, but showing a little more balance lately, which is really fascinating. I think the left 2RF having high scores helps them there. Elite matchup for the left 2RF again. Elite matchup for the hooker, Jacob Little. Great matchup for the lock. Great matchup for the left half. Neutrals for the right 2RF and the right half. The bad matchups are with the right centre and the front rowers. Yeah, it's in favour of the Dragons here. Both teams have been solidly defending SuperCoach points. Broncos aren't scoring a ton, and Dragons are on the uplift from a scoring in SuperCoach and fantasy perspective. Game 5 is the last one of the round. Seagulls Knights. The Seagulls, the gun matchups with the left half. The great matchups are with the right half, the right centre, the right 2RF, and the front rowers. So your Toff Sipleys are a good play this weekend potentially. And Luke Brooks is a gun matchup. So hopefully if you're a Luke Brooks owner, he does well for you. For the bad for the Seagulls, left 2RF, lock and fullback, poor matchup. But yeah, if Tommy Turbo plays, yeah, captaining Tommy Turbo 100%. Very small discrepancy in favour of the Knights. Both teams have their ups and downs. So this should be a pretty solid SuperCoach scoring game, I would guess. Seagulls dominant down their right edge due to DC and whatnot, and that comes through in the data today though. Here for the Knights, gun matchup only for the lock. Elite matchups for the right winger, the left winger, and the fullback. So Marju owners, potentially Thomas Kant, I think his name is, and Sharp. What's his name? Fletcher Sharp. He has an elite matchup. Great matchup for the right 2RF and the hooker. Bad matchup for KPP and the left centre, Mapapalangi. if he does in fact line up there, which I believe he will, and I believe I'll just double check the team list on that one actually, just so I don't get it wrong. Oh, so it's Matt Papalangi's playing right wing and Thomas Kant is a left center, so that's good for Marju. That Kant is a, you know, I think he might show a little more than Matt Papalangi. Matt Papalangi is the right winger who has an elite matchup. Right half has a neutral matchup. So yeah, I'm starting everyone that's valid because it's a bye, and this game I think has SuperCoach points in it. Quickly check the questions because that does us. No questions. Sweet. Guys, that will do it. If you're new here, please hit subscribe. If you're a returning viewer or visitor, I really appreciate your support on watching this one. Please chuck a like on the video if it helps you out. Don't forget to check out my Twitter page where I have been putting up some of the highlights of the matchup data that converts to accuracy. So I don't think that sentence made sense, but that's okay. So yeah, check those out to see, you know, how this data is actually how it's looking on the weekend. It's looking pretty good a lot of the time, which is awesome. So hopefully it's helping you guys. Everyone have a great weekend. Good luck on the bye round. Remember, you know, if you need wins, you're gonna have to take some risks, unfortunately. And message me if you're looking for a Discord invite. A lot of guys are there to help you out when it comes to making SuperCoach decisions on a week-to-week basis. See you guys.